Welcome to Athletic. This is your host, Kareem Bailey Smith. I'm here with Larry Codio, the bro. Just wanted to come bring you guys a podcast where it's two brothers talking real organically about sports. This week, we have a very special topic, technology in sports. We're going tech. That's my nickname in the family. If you don't know, they call me
Yes,
Tech.
sir.
Shout out the movie Crossover. If y'all haven't seen it, go see it. But I just wanted to give you guys a little background, introduce myself, let Larry introduce himself, and then we'll jump right into it. So, like I said, my name's Karee. Played D1 football at UMass Amherst. I am currently a high school physical education and health education teacher. I also coach football, basketball, and track and field. And I'm currently looking to become an athletic director by taking my graduate school programs through Endicott College.
I'm Larry Codio. I'm not a Division I athlete, but I did play high school, have a little bit of AAU experience. So, other than that, I'm just an average fan and degenerate sports bettor. So, that's my involvement in sports today.
Hey, best of both worlds. You get two different perspectives. And before we even go any further, I'm gonna wish all you guys out there Happy New Year. I know it is the 12th of January. I don't know how late it's too late to be saying Happy New Year, but happiest of New Year. This time of the year, it's a very fresh start for most people. They're going in making New Year's resolutions. Hopefully, you guys are still going strong. But this is the best time of year in sports because we got NBA, NFL playoffs, college football playoffs, and bowl games. We have college basketball getting ready for the tournament. Hockey's going crazy right now. Larry, I just wanted to, reach out and see what do you think that the fan experience in sport, like, what does that even mean? The fan experience in sport.
I think the fan experience is fuel to the athlete. I think the fan experience is also a sense of community for those that are involved, whether you're watching at home or just at the game itself. I think that it's obviously an entertainment product, but I do think sports is a way of life. I think it teaches you a lot of disciplines, and I think people have a lot of emotional and just personal interest in sports. So I think that just for all parties involved, I think the fans are heavily involved in it, just from top to bottom.
Yeah, so like fans being as like the driving factor for sport, you pretty much getting that.
Essentially, because all the athletes were fans at one point, I would assume. So I think so.
Yeah. Funny you say that because me being a former collegiate athlete, I did get a little chance to, test the professional waters out, but I've never really been a fan in my playing years. Like since I started taking football seriously, so talking about later in high school and college, I've never been a fan of actually watching the sports. But I do know how much, especially now as not being an athlete, how much fans actually mean to the game. And it's one thing is just like you can take them for granted while you're on the field, but when you're in the stadium and you can see the fans impacting the athletes on the field, it's a kind of full circle moment as an
Yeah,
athlete when you're able to sit in the crowd and watch that.
and appreciate that perspective a
Yeah,
little different.
100%. I would mainly say though that the fan experience is just the way that sports teams try to stay relevant. They want people in the seats. They want people seeing their athletes. They want people paying their ridiculous prices for all the drinks and whatever else they got in the
Mm-hmm.
stadiums. So I think the fan experience is more catered towards just them being relevant and keeping that sense of urgency and having the people feel like they're missing out on something when they're not in the building, and really just trying to entice a community to really back them and support their mission to go out there and just win, you
Yeah.
know? But pretty dope. So technology, it has advanced drastically in the last 30 years. I'm only 30 years old, but I feel like I was born at the perfect time because I know what it was like to have like the dial-up internet. I can actually remember, and I can still hear the sound ringing in
Hmm.
my ears, you know.
Yeah.
But now I have the internet as soon as I open my phone with my face, mind you. I don't even have to touch my phone. Open it with my face, internet can pop up right there. I can ask a artificial intelligence to pull up the internet. Um, Basically, what I'm trying to get at with all this is that technology is advancing so fast, so much. I wanted to get your take on how do you think technology's role is enhancing the connectivity, accessibility, and engagement for the fans? And think of some specific examples if you haven't.
Um, so I agree with what you were saying. I think technology in sports has made the experience much better for a multitude of different reasons. I think one, you just have more outlets to watch the games instead of always having to be at a TV or at the game present. Now you can watch it on your phone, things like that. You have different streaming platforms showing games now, like Amazon Prime and just different networks now than there were prior. And on top of that, I think fans are more educated today just because of the increased number of videos and just social media posts and just more overall information on the sport. So I think it's kind of peeled the curtain back a little bit more. So I think the fans are just a little bit more engaged from whether it be the off season, wondering about players moving to different teams and things like that, or coaches and just organizational changes in the building, just into the draft, leading into preseason and wanting to see like rookies play. And it's kind of like a year round kind of like just journey for the fans. So I think just technology has given them mainly a way to follow the sport, um, I guess, more consistently than as opposed to just watching the actual sporting event when it's live.
Yeah, and you saying follow the sport, sometimes it's not even following. It almost seems like a lot of the fans are preceding the media because they know what the outcome's going to be. You can have people right now, just because the football season's winding down, the Patriots unfortunately are not making the playoffs, but there were people last week telling me who the head coach was going to be, and they just announced it today, and they were right.
Yeah,
There are people who are sitting there telling me who are going to be the top three draft picks, and though that's a common one that people can guess based off of just the merit that some of these athletes had in college, but
as well as or the
and the
team needs.
needs,
Yeah,
yeah, organizational needs at the next level. So you can kind of make an educated guess for that, but at the same time, it's like you're not really a decision maker in that
yeah,
process. You're a fan, bro. And it's like the fact that people feel informed enough to make those accusations and actually make statements that they believe wholeheartedly like that, that they have no even idea what's
yeah.
being said behind doors. That just shows how,
It's a new
uh,
day and age.
yeah, like you can be miles away, states away, countries away from your favorite team and still be in the loop. And
Yeah,
um, you did bring up something off air though that I did want you to touch on that I thought was pretty cool. I wasn't too familiar with this. I knew the project was happening. I just didn't know the details, and you
yeah.
shared some of them with me. If you can just touch base on that, if you know what I'm talking about.
So there's two things that I was thinking about. I don't remember if you're referring to the stadium or are you referring to the the live broadcasts.
So let's start with the stadium,
Okay.
and then we'll jump into the live broadcast. I have something to say about that.
So in terms of the stadium, uh, the new Intuit Dome, I believe is the name. The new Clippers Stadium, it just opened this season. They've took tech to the next level, all the way down to the seating and how it goes, and it monitors um, the fan noise and uh, like consistent volume. And I'm looking for
Oh,
the
the
word.
decibels.
Yeah, decibels.
Yeah.
Like levels and things like that, down to the display of the screens. And he has it where they design the building in a way where fans can go to the bathroom and concession stands more efficiently. So they were really, really conscious and just using the most advanced technology possible to enhance that fan experience. So I think if anybody wants to kind of learn more about the actual specs of that building, it's like you can find multiple videos on YouTube that are really interesting because some of the stuff they were doing I didn't even know was possible. So it kind of is letting me just as a fan like look forward to hopefully some arenas in Massachusetts getting on board and trying to do some of those things that they're doing in Los Angeles.
Yeah, so um, Los Angeles, this is there's so many controversial things going on right now in the world, and I'm not gonna really jump too much onto the current events that is happening in LA, but I know Los Angeles is shifting towards being a more tech city.
I wouldn't say shifting. I would say that's been
That
well in place,
I you can say
like
that, but
especially like the
they're
Bay
also
Area.
it's also an old city, you know. So there's also a lot of history there, and there's a lot of tradition. So them making that shift is actually very impactful.
Yeah,
When you look at places up here in the Northeast, like we have Fenway Park, which is America's oldest ballpark, right?
yeah.
And it's like,
People are less receptive to change. You feel?
yeah, and the stadium doesn't look bad, but my thought process when you mention stadiums and when you kind of look into some of the details of the Intuit Dome is like, what's going to be the updates for Fenway Park? I know Gillette Stadium just put up the largest outdoor screen in New England, you know,
Yeah,
and they added more things. They're changing their layout out a little bit, partially because they've been winning, you know.
yeah.
So they had the revenue coming in, and the fans always show up for the Patriots. They always show up for the Red Sox too, but there never really was any kind of call for any change as far as what it is because it's so valued as a tradition and a historical landmark.
So what I do think is it's kind of hard to focus on that actual area when it comes to improving the fan experience through tech. And by that, I'm referring to like the actual physical stadium, because that's just one of like, I would assume one of the more costly ways, like especially how they did it. Like they built a completely new arena where most of these arenas that most professional sports teams have played at they've been playing there for decades, and they do like occasional renovations and things like that. But I think it'll be kind of I think it'll be a while until most professional teams kind of get caught up with like where the Clippers are, but I do think there's probably ways that they can start like slowly implementing changes to kind of keep that historic, like almost like foundation of the building, but kind of be innovative and like make small changes that can kind of make people like still have that nostalgic feel as well as still feeling like the benefits of the just the new options that are present today. I think they would appreciate both.
Yeah, no, you segued right into my next question I was going to ask you, to be honest. So, what do you think is the next major technology advancement in sports overall? Could be any sport.
Um,
What would you say is the next major technology advancement, or what was something that you would want to see?
so when we say tech, can that mean like does that mean science or does this mean like specifically like electronic technology?
Um, so when you're looking at science as far as like
Like
changing
could
the
it be sports
aerodynamics and things
medicine
like,
or could it be
okay, yeah,
something
no, I
like
like
that?
that. I like that.
Yeah,
Sports medicine.
so I would hope that this is just me as a mid 20-year-old washed athlete. I wish there's some sort of like research that they can bring to kind of like promote just muscle recovery and like ways for athletes to heal kind of faster and kind of just have more longevity. Not like a not like some sort of magic like pill or anything, but I just feel like as doctors gets better and as we get more access to information and things like that, I just kind of feel like that would improve. Like so LeBron James, kind of how he's played for so long and never had like a crazy injury. I just feel like those cases would be more like normal. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
no, I
saying?
get you. So making bionic athletes, I feel
Yeah, like
you.
I don't
All
know.
athletes get enhanced with artificial limbs and stuff to reduce
Did I
injuries.
answer even the question? What was the question again?
You
Because
did, you
I'm
did.
not even
The
sure the
next
answer.
major technological advancement in sports. So
Nah, I
it's
don't
gonna
like that
be,
answer though. That
well,
sounds
that
because it
might not be
sounds
the
crazy.
next, but I can definitely see that happening if society continues to progress where, we're not even living on the actual earth. We're just suspended in air on a home base or something. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So the technology is limitless and the future is always up to people's imagination. And I think that's the great thing about sports because sports is such a creative platform, anyways, where you get to express yourself in different various forms, whether it be basketball
No.
as a
Oh,
having a
sorry.
specific style of jump shot, or football, you being able to see things differently and make plays happen, like a Patrick Mahomes type of athlete, right?
Yeah.
Or baseball, people doing the things that haven't been seen before, like Otani,
Yeah.
right? So I do think sports is a platform where you can express yourself creatively, and that gives leeway to technology inching its way in there even more so because those are just two creative people combining their brains to do something that's physically great.
Hmm.
And when you can have the opportunity to combine like humans and machines to get a greater outcome, I feel like people jump at that all the time.
Yeah.
Uh,
Totally.
you were gonna say something though, or you want to move on real quick? Because two more things I wanted to touch
Yeah,
on.
we can move on.
So the first thing I wanted to do is take a quick break just to plug in our sponsor for the video today. It is mytomorrow.com. This is Tomorrow LLC. It's a sports consulting company. Just it's actually my sports consulting company. So just kind of throwing a shameless plug there, where we're going to be offering merch and sports training. That money is then going to be funneled back into the company to help fund this podcast directly, as well as provide some local athletic events and workshops that focus on the professional development of young athletes. So, with that being said, we do have two trivia questions. You ready?
Yes, sir.
The first one: which sport was the first to use technology of any kind?
I feel like this is gonna be a trick question, and I'm gonna go with cricket with the little paddle.
Cricket. You are not correct. That was a good guess because it's a random sport like that. Horse racing. The
Oh,
first
polo.
technology,
What, the
no, horse
whip?
racing. The first technology used in horse racing in 1881. It was a photo finish to capture the finish line.
Oh, so we are talking electronic technology because I consider like tools, like for example, the invention of the hammer to me is technology.
And a camera's technology.
I know, but they had technology way prior to them doing the first photo finish.
But was it utilized in
Like think
sports?
about it, them even using this them even having a saddle on a horse is already technology. It's not like the guy's bareback on the horse.
I feel that.
He's like, you know what I'm saying? So I thought you meant like way, way back, ancient technology.
Well,
So I
let's
think I get a half a point for that
okay. Well, let's get more specific
one.
then.
Yeah.
What was the first game ever shown on television? Sport and the date, if you got it.
I definitely don't have the date, but
If you had to guess a
I
year.
will say I'm trying to think. So the first sport aired on television. Um, so the sport doesn't really matter. I'm going to use context clues. What really matters is the year the television was invented and what sport was had the attention of society at the time, which my guess would be in America, definitely baseball.
Baseball is correct.
Yeah, for sure.
And the year was 1939, May
Okay.
17th. So my son's birthday in
That's crazy.
1939. So we're gonna have to get him in baseball, and
Yeah.
maybe that's the hint right there.
Hey.
All right, well, that was our trivia section brought to you by Tomorrow. Remember to visit mytomorrow.com for your merch and sports specific training. The last part of this discussion that we're going to wrap it up with some of the challenges of technology. So, technology, yes, it has plenty of benefits, but there can be some negative downsides to it. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges with technology?
All right. A big one is analytics changing coach's approach to the game, I would say. As a basketball fan, I've noticed that there's only a certain number of possessions on average in an NBA game, and teams started to play on that uh, kind of like pattern. And in those number of possessions, each team gets a roughly the X amount of possessions. So instead of taking 2 point shots, they either want layups, like transition layups, or 3 pointers. So you can see them like not taking mid range, completely abandoning the mid range game, or just like, I don't know, like the game is just kind of changed. You don't see guys, big men, posting up and looking for mismatches down low as much. So it's just like,
The pace sped up a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah, it's like it kind of changed the game. And I feel that if your team has the personnel to play that style, then I think it it works, because I think coaching should be about maximizing your players' ability to get the best result out of them, not just using a strategy based on some numbers that you got and then trying to like force players to play in a style that might not be ultimately getting the most productivity out of that individual player and just the group. So I think just the overusage of analytics and trying to like revolve your approach based on that, I think kind of like you have to learn like how to balance it, how to use the numbers and kind of like let it steer you in the direction, but not, I guess, like, you know what I'm trying to say basically.
No, I get you. I get you. I am pretty much uh, impressed at the fact that you actually went with the impact that technology has on people versus actual challenges with the machines or mechanics themselves.
Oh, see, these
So,
questions can be
hey,
answered in
no,
multiple
no,
ways.
it's I understand. It's just your perception of how you took it. So, the fact that my brain was in a different place, thinking about like the actually
Just
manufacturing
malfunctions.
technology, like when you think of things like the um, I believe it's like Taiwan or something that has all the ores that we need in the ground that we use for the microchips that they use for like smartphones and computers, and that's what's fueling their economic system, right?
In sport,
In Taiwan, but that's just microchips. But people
you're
are.
saying they're doing that in sports?
I'm just saying that if the technology comes over to the sport, there's going to be some kind of pushback between how we are actually utilizing it. So the Intuit Dome, how much energy is it pulling for the grid in LA? Is it ran off of clean energy? There's a big push for this kind of stuff now, and especially in a place like LA.
Yeah.
And so this is something that you have to talk about when you're dealing with technology
Oh, yeah. And when
and
does it become detrimental?
to the environment, and when is it just pure greed? Do we actually need robots delivering food to our seats? Because I think I read something like that about that into it when
Yeah.
I looked it up real quick earlier,
I'm
right?
not opposed to that.
I'm not either. That would be freaking dope. But
There'll
at the
probably be
same
less
time,
accidents.
how many jobs is it taking from other people?
Not true.
How
Oh my
much
God.
how
Speaking of
much
which, this is a
energy is it
side
pulling
topic,
off the
but
grid? Like I said, is it going to um, lessen the amount of time that we can actually spend on this earth and enjoy here just because we want to build things to look great? The story of Babylon, if you
yeah.
will. Um, but that was just the direction that I went in when I thought of challenges. So the fact you thought about challenges, the way that technology would change people's perception of the sport, I think that's pretty dope. Um,
It's changing the perception, it's changing the visual aesthetic, it's changing players' like whole game and confidence once they get there. It's I feel like it's affected like a lot.
Oh yeah, as a coach, you see it in these young kids now where everything that they're doing is based off of an algorithm, right? They're saying
Yeah,
this is what is going to get me seen, not this is what needs to be done to win games.
yeah,
This is where I need to go to be relevant. This is not where I need to go to develop the best into the best player I can be.
yeah.
So there's a lot of people, a lot of
That's even
give
one
and
right there.
pull,
Like
but
we could talk about, for example, to stick on this question, like there's even been players posting posts on social media during halftime and stuff like that. Like, bro, your head's not even in the game.
well,
Like
funny story
that's
about
that
that. Someone
that's
actually did that on
that's
my
a
team in
no, I'm saying
2012.
that's an example of technology being like, all right, can you imagine how fed up a coach would be like dealing with this when back in the day that's never even a possibility?
In
Like
2012, that right there,
yeah.
that accident cost that man a, a lot in terms of what he was going to do, where he was. He still went on to do great things, man. Shout out my man. Yeah, if he hears this, he know who he is. I ain't even gonna spill his name, but
Yeah,
that you bringing that up, that was just nostalgia right there. Because we
yeah.
came back in after the game, and that's how I found out was the coach. Someone told him on the field that one of his players said, "We're gonna go back out second half, go get this money." And that was the time where NIL was a no no.
Yeah,
So you're gonna say get this money on a football field, they're
in the
gonna look
middle of
at
a
you.
game. Yeah,
Yeah, look at you like you're stealing. Crazy how fast forward 13 years later, and now people is choosing not to play unless they get paid money,
yeah.
which is wild. So we can talk about this all day, man. So maybe there's gonna need to be a part two of this podcast. But I appreciate you having this conversation with me.
You know that, bro.
Um, I'm definitely gonna try to set up some more of these just so that way we can be consistent because there's a lot of different things we can unpack here, and I do think that it'll be helpful for the athletic community to see it and from a sports perspective, from a technology perspective, from a life perspective, from a business perspective as well, and just really just look at how sports can really impact every aspect of your life.
I agree.
So thank y'all for tuning in with us. We will be catching you on the next episode. This is your host, Kari. I was here with Larry. It's been a pleasure. We'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.
God bless.